Hi, well, good morning. I can't believe it's Thursday, May the 23rd, and you are listening to or watching the weekly Over Community Space. I do this every week except for last week. I had some tech issues, but never mind. We have some people on the X or Twitter space right now. And today we're going to talk about Web3 gaming in RL or in real life. And the reason why I've chosen this topic is because over the reality is really the perfect platform for gamers or game developers to really look into in terms of developing games, the next iteration of games involving augmented reality, maybe even a hybrid type of virtual reality and AI, guys. So I'm going to, I guess, welcome people into the space now and let's see how it goes. I hope my dog just stays quiet for a while. Let me see. Actually, I should even share. Let me share. Before we start this, I will share the the link. Yep, this is why I call this behind the scenes. And it's also a good way. I believe I'm streaming on Facebook where there's a lot of my family and like friends from high school and whatnot. And not many of them know what I do. Or maybe they've heard of Web3 or all these kind of like, crypto Twitter or blockchain or Web3 Twitter is really different from anything from any other normal topics that people in Web2 or people who are not in the ecosystem or space um, are or experience. So in a way, when I live stream these back behind the scenes on Facebook, where my family and friends are, then maybe they'll catch a glimpse of the stream and see, I don't know, it might pique their interest. Not only what I do, but the topics that surround us in Web3. So right now I'm just going to go and remind people of the space. Sometimes it's good to have like a co-host. I would love to. Here it is. Let me just message people. I should have done this earlier, but it is what it is. Let me see. I know that it's Thursday. It's 10, a little bit past 10 my time. So that would be like 12 if you're in the Eastern Seaboard. Okay. I'm just going to remind everybody. And the one thing about these spaces is when you facilitate like conversation and discussion, it's always like a fine line, giving the people the opportunity to share their views and insights, and at the same time, making sure that everybody has the stage or their opportunity to also speak and share, and not have one person dominate the space. So here we go. Let's see how it goes, folks. I like to kind of like get more people in, but let's see. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the Over Reality Community Space. Yep, we do this every week, and I can't even remember what number episode this is, and it doesn't even matter. So shout out to Mintz. I did see MetaMike on here and Dr. One of One. So they just dropped. I'm not sure if I don't know. It could have been X, the tech, or they just needed to go somewhere, or they're dropping by and coming back. So let's see. Mintz. Oh my gosh. You know what I want to do? I'm going to actually put you as co-host, Mintz. Which reminds me, I hope you can speak. I'd love to know what you're up to, even though I kind of know, but give us updates on your life in the other side of the world. I'm going to actually join also with Over and set Over as co-host. Now, this is a really interesting and passionate topic for me, gaming in general. especially the new iteration. I don't even know if we can call it a new iteration, but the next stage of where Web3 gaming is going to go. Of course, it'll always stay on. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to leave mobile anytime soon, or consoles or browser gaming anytime soon, or even VR devices or AR glasses type devices soon. So we don't know. Oh, okay, no problem. No problem, Mints. This is really great. So yeah, I would really love to start this discussion on Web3 gaming in real life or in RL. The reason why is because if you don't know, Over the Reality is a company that I have been with since, I guess, end of July 2021. So it's coming up to 3 years now. And long story short, um, when I was active in Second Life, if you don't know, just go to secondlife.com. Second Life is actually the first virtual 3D slash metaverse world that I had come to. Thank you to Jerry Villarreal, my friend in Houston, Texas. So shout out to Jerry, who introduced me to Second Life. This was back in 2005. And it was like fantastic for me because I literally, Second Life had a digital economy, it had a creator community, and it also had a user base that I guess stimulated the virtual economy. So you can go in and you can create things that you can do in the real world. People can buy them up. Of course, you engaged and lived in Second Life through your avatar. You can have multiple avatars, but mostly people chose one or two avatars, and they would fit their avatars with clothes, like gave their avatars a home, because in reality, in virtual reality or in that 3D Second Life metaverse, your avatar really represented maybe an alternative version of you. And it was really interesting because when I was an avatar in Second Life, or when I played out certain roles in Second Life, it was really like my second life. And I made a lot of money in Second Life. So how do you do that? So Linden Labs, Second Life had I guess, a currency called the Linden dollar, and you can earn Linden dollars by doing lots of jobs like modeling, photography, renting spaces, curating art galleries, singing in virtual bars that people had created. It was really amazing. And so that was in 2005. So from 2005 all the way to 2007 to 2010, I was about 5 years. I was very active in Second Life, and there was a lot of gameplay, role play. There was like samurai games. There was racing games that you could take your avatar, and people had created like racetracks, various shapes of racetracks and obstacles, where you can buy or take a, I don't know, like a race car that was literally created, and people had scripted it so that you can control it through a heads-up device. And just right click, pretty much in Second Life, you right click on everything to activate a certain action or animation. And you could activate something to sit, to drive, but it was really interesting. And then in 2009, when I attended my first augmented reality developer camp in Frankfurt, Germany, I was like, oh my God, I saw the use cases back then in 2009 that people had been developing 10 years prior for AR, the military, healthcare, transportation, museums, entertainment, even. And this was back in 2009, guys. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, wouldn't it be great if you can create augmented reality content easily the way you can create it in Second Life, except over the real world? So that was 2009. Fast forward to 2021, I was actually following the NFT hashtag on Twitter, and I came across Over the Reality's Twitter account, and I was like, Over the Reality? Like what? So thank God I clicked on their website, the link on their website from their Twitter bio, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, not only can you buy a digital space over the real world, like I was buying up land on Second Life, like it was crazy. I must have spent, and this is embarrassing, but it's not, maybe close to $300 a month US at the very least, on Second Life. I paid for like monthly for the land that I was using, and I bought a whole bunch of stuff. Like it was insane. Helicopters, clothes, anything I could do to outfit my avatar, homes, furniture. Then until I ended up making furniture, it was like fantastic. So in 2021, when I saw Over the Reality, when I found Over the Reality, I was like, this is it. Like this is really the future of everything, of marketing, of advertising, of brand experience. It's whatever you can do in Second Life, like whatever you can do in the real world, you can do in Second Life, or whatever you can do in the real world, you could do it on Over, because Over literally is overlaid on the real world. And then there's the aspect of gaming. And it's not just gaming for gameplay, it's gaming for gamifying experiences. Like, I don't need to say this. I feel like this is an echo chamber in X or Twitter space. It's an echo chamber, definitely. But for those of you watching on Facebook, on Twitch, or on YouTube, you might go, what? What's going on? You know what I mean? Like, you never know where these streams catch people. But yes, when we talk about gaming, it's not just like the regular games we play, like first person shooter or strategy games. I love strategy games, and that kind of thing. It's actually, you've heard of this. It's been around for 20 years, at least 30, maybe 20 at the least. Gamification, gamifying everything. Banks are doing it. Starbucks did it, everything, you know. So this is why I feel like we really start to need to continue the conversation on why game developers need to look at Over the Reality. So if you don't know, Over the Reality is also its base platform. I wouldn't call it base. In order to create things on Over, like especially augmented reality assets, we use Unity, the Unity SDK. And if you don't know, Unity has been around forever. I will say this: a lot of people don't know that Unity actually started in the early 2000s. Actually started as, what was it? It's like Code One Deploy All. It was when the iPhone fanboys. It was when iPhone and Android, Google's mobile operating system, were kind of like in cahoots. We're kind of like in battle, like which mobile operating system, which phone was going to like rival everybody else. We saw Nokia drop. We saw RIM's BlackBerry drop. I don't even know if BlackBerry's still in existence. Back in the day, Unity used to be for mobile game developers or mobile developers to develop code or create code, and then using Unity, deploy it to both operating systems like iPhone and Android. Mind you, back then, iPhone it wasn't open source. Android was. And it was really hard to sometimes get into Android. But I mean, iPhone, but that's a whole other conversation, and it doesn't even matter right now. But so Unity started off as that, but now Unity is almost like is the foundation program or software for 3D game development, among other things. And I know there's Unreal Engine, maybe it's 5. I don't know if Unreal deployed 6 yet. I'm not even sure. But for sure, Unity is like the go-to standard of game development. And that is what Over has. Over has created a Unity SDK for anybody who learned or knows about Unity. It's easy. And if you think about it, all these game development companies out there using Unity, it's like, why wouldn't you want to? And obviously, it's like just getting the word out. And how do you get the word out? Obviously, Over has to have some type of accountability for that. What is their outreach? What is their strategy plan, their marketing? What are their verticals that they are going to go into? And I know the community has been saying so much about where Over should go, where Over should tap into, who Over should partner with and collaborate with. But the reality is that when you are working with a small team, currently I believe we have like 35 people working with the team, and most of that, like let's say maybe a good portion of 30 of them, the core team, are in headquarters out in Udine, Italy. In addition to, the majority of them are developers. Now, that's what I'm feeling given the roster, the employee roster. But it's not that easy. like when you're building out a technology that involves AR, that involves so many moving parts on the blockchain with multiple users from different countries. And yeah, it's insane. So I must say it's so easy for someone to come in and say, well, Over should be doing this, that. Of course, like that is like a no-brainer. You don't think yeah, it is a no-brainer. So then what's going on? Sometimes when you are a business, because which they are, and if you want to continue like I guess feeding your employees per se, and ensuring that you have longevity. You can't just YOLO out the funds you have and everything. You really have to like pick and choose and strategize what things you're going to roll out, what things make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sometimes we see companies roll out things and it does not make sense. It's like, why do they do this? Why couldn't they do this? But there were things that we don't know. There are moving parts that perhaps we are not privy to, and hence that's why a company or a startup had went this route. And in addition to that is that company or startup's journey, right? Like you don't know what you don't know until you go there. So if you forge a new path onto like a partnership with some entity and it doesn't work out or whatever, that's just like the growing pains of a business. So yeah, that's enough for what I'm gonna say. But yeah, so we have Grateful, Mince, and Elias, and our Hexa. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I haven't even logged on with Over the Reality, but I know that Mince is unable to speak. He can only listen. He's probably climbing some mountain. I'm not sure. And I wonder if Elias is mapping. But I do want to hear from Grateful and our Hexa. Our Hexa has a lot to say about this because he is one of the community members that is actually using Over the Reality as part of his like business model. And I'd love to hear more about that. And I know if you are someone who is integrating Over's platform or any of Over's services into your business, it you I mean, you really would wish and hope that you would get some support from the team in terms of like, I don't know, like things working out. How can it be easier to onboard my clients or customers onto your platform? I will say that I believe recently, maybe it's been over 2 weeks now, has done that by instead of downloading the app for people to experience augmented reality, you don't need to download the app anymore. Literally, you can just scan a QR code, and that is huge. That is really huge. That definitely takes down one barrier to entry for people to experience Over's platform and what this spatial platform can do. So that's like amazing, and kudos to the team. And another amazing thing is that I know a lot of you or many of you maybe not have heard of Over's project or program called Map to Earn. So it's exactly what it says. You map to earn. So you 3D map certain locations in the world, physical world, using your mobile phone. Obviously, for that, you have to download the Over app, and then you just access the mapping feature. And then through that, you can earn Over tokens. Now, many of you might be listening and go, yeah, well, like, what can I do with the Over tokens? Well, if you don't want to utilize any of the Over tokens and buy up Overland or any of the NFTs or whatnot, then you can always swap Over tokens to whatever altcoin you can and eventually have it into your bank account in fiat. But that's a whole process. But that's one thing that Map to Earn program is doing. But the great thing is, and this is what's so exciting, is that when people are mapping the world in 3D, so they're taking snapshots or they're taking snapshots and producing digital twins of a certain physical location in 3D. And what's great about it is now you can create any 3D asset. Okay, I hope it's not too technical for people that are watching me on Facebook or Twitch. But basically, when you create an augmented reality something, you need 3D software, right? Because you have to see that content, excuse me, in AR in 3 dimensions. So there's certain files that you use, and there's Blender, there's Maya, there's Unity, there's like a whole bunch of 3D software out there to create content. I'm going to call it content, like gaming content or whatever content. So I hope I don't lose my thoughts. Sometimes my mouth runs faster than my brain. It's ridiculous. It should be the other way around, but unfortunately, it's not today. So where was I going with this? Yeah. So what the great thing about what Over's launching now, or they're beta testing right now, we haven't really announced it officially, is that you can create a 3D asset and you can put it into an overmap. Okay, why is this exciting? Well, because prior to this, you can create an augmented reality content. Let's say if you're in Toronto, like I'm from Toronto, let's say you create a huge dragon because it's Year of the Dragon right beside the CN Tower, right? And people around the CN Tower can get prompted by a QR code or some banner or sign in IRL where you can say, oh, scan this code, and they'll see a dragon like climbing the CN Tower. That's great. However, if you're in Udine, Italy, if you're in Saskatoon where I am, or if you're somewhere in Australia or anywhere in the world, you can still access that dragon through the Over app, access it remotely, but you're literally seeing the dragon wherever you are, whether it's in your living room, in your bathroom, your bedroom, I don't know. You can still access the augmented reality 3D asset, hence, for example, the dragon, but you're not experiencing it where it is. In Toronto by the CN Tower. However, now what Over is going to be launching or putting out soon is that if somebody had created, I'm sure they have, a overmap, like if they literally mapped in the locations where the CN Tower was, and then were to drop or upload the AR or 3D asset of a dragon, anyone remotely can actually see that dragon in the context of where it was meant to be experienced, which is by the CN Tower, climbing the CN Tower or whatnot. And that is huge. That is a huge advancement and in terms of what we can experience in AR, because when you know what, I feel like that was one of the barriers, or not barriers, but kind of like, oh, like Over so great, we can create augmented reality all over the world, but then, oh, well, like, what do you mean we can see this asset in my living room? I don't want to see this asset in my living room. It's kind of messy. So if I was a game developer and I saw Over 3 years ago, and I was really excited about the ability to create AR content anywhere, then I was like, yeah, but how are we gonna, I want people to experience this game in the environment or the backdrop that the game is intended for. And now that can happen. Sure, you can build up a backdrop or a background using Unity. Absolutely. But like, come on. You can, but that's a lot of, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's a lot of work. I feel like it's easier to scan, especially if you're going to deploy your game over a certain location in the real world, like let's say the Grand Canyon. Like, I don't know. I would rather just 3D map a physical location and use that real backdrop or environment as part of my game or my experience. I know we're talking about gaming, but keep in mind that gaming, the gaming topic is huge. It's not just about gaming for entertainment. It's also gaming for education and playing, or like gamifying like things. So I know. Oh, there's our Hexa. Oh, great. Sorry, I've been like la la la. I wasn't even sure. So, Hexa, you've got the mic. Come on. What do you have to say about all this?
Hey, how you doing? Are you good?
Yes, I'm doing really well.
Good. Yeah, no, it's all good. I was listening away there. Some really interesting points. It is an absolutely amazing subject, this Web3 gaming. There's so much happening in the space over the last year, really, I suppose. There's brands like Balenciaga and Fortnite, and all these big brands are looking at gaming and the routes to market through gamers, because it's a massive industry, right? And interesting enough, this week actually, Balenciaga has just I don't know if anyone saw it, but they've gone into Roblox. They've launched their own game, which is massive. I mean, literally, they've had. I'm not sure if it went into Roblox or they've just launched their own game, but it's just huge, because they're transcending not only the brand, but they're also introducing new markets to the brand, which is exactly the way to go. And Lamborghini, I think, also started this week as well, working in Roblox. I mean, Roblox itself is phenomenal. I mean, they've got 70 plus million daily users. So, that audience coming in every day is huge potential. I think when Lamborghini did the launch of their new experience, they had 300,000 users go in 24 hours. So big numbers going through those doors, and it's huge potential. And I think for Over, there's still some challenges around what can be deployed in those hexes. To some extent, that will improve, obviously, with computer capabilities and developments with regards to processing and everything else. But I think to win is challenging, but to keep them there and to keep them engaged is the challenge that everybody wants to kind of overcome. I think that will be the turning point. It's a great subject. And just on other news, actually, I mean, I've done some research over the last couple of days on looking at different ways to kind of use augmented reality in situ. So as opposed to not just using QR codes, I found a really cool guy actually on LinkedIn, and he's got a company called Elysium, and I had a call with him last week. I've got another one with him tomorrow afternoon to discuss their product, because it's not QR code based. Basically, you go into the environment itself and you deploy the assets in real time. So imagine having all those assets in a library on your phone, and you literally just click on them and drop them in situ and rearrange them in situ. And it's really neat, because what it also allows you to do is when you go to a location, and then you move to a slightly different location, as long as you put a pin in there, and obviously, the algorithms and the mechanics of the app are built in such a way that you can experience those real-time assets responsively. And actually, that's a really nice way. And, and I've thought a lot about over the reality and how that type of technology would really suit the overlands. And again, I don't know where they are with regards to their roadmap and what they want to do with it, but it just seems logical. And it just removes another barrier, i.e. downloading a QR code. It is an app, but they also do white label apps, and I'm going to talk to them tomorrow about potentially doing a white label app for me, and just giving it a go. I think that's all you can do, right? You can just speculate, understand, try and educate yourself. I've been looking at 360 imagery. When you go on Over actually, and you look at some of those environments, like the Sistine Chapel, which is a 360 experience. I love that. When I first saw that, I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. And again, I've done some research and found a guy, he's a UK-based guy that is doing some work with Midjourney and tying those images together using some tricks and hacks. So again, I think you've just got to look at your opportunities, look at what's available, look at your capabilities, look at your time, and how much these things are going to cost, and adapt accordingly. So busy week, as well as trying to make some money. But that's as it is. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
No, don't. I love that. Like, I didn't know about Balenciaga, and I feel like that is huge. Like I'm looking at it now, actually, and I'm going to play the video. I sent the link out. I'll try to send the link through Twitter or X Space and then pin it. Or if you have it, go ahead and pin it. But that, do you know, is it a browser-based game? Is it mobile? It's probably mobile and browser, right?
I'm not sure on the mechanics. I saw it on LinkedIn, and these guys, obviously they've got a huge budget. They have a whole team, an army, should I say, of people developing these initiatives. And I just think it's really cool. And what I love about it is just a basic platform game with utility baked into it. And I think that's the key here. You don't have to make things too complicated. In fact, often the simplicity of things is the absolute elixir of stickiness, and I think this is what these guys are doing very, very well. So I only saw it, as I say, a couple of days ago. I like the idea of it. I know they've done some bigger kind of collaboratives and joint ventures with Fortnite and some of the other games, but this looks interesting because it is out and out gaming, and the gaming market is colossal, as we know. So yeah, it's I don't know is the answer to that one.
Okay, just wanted to, yeah. I mean, thanks. Yeah, probably is browser, because I know I access it on my Chrome browser, and right now you can play the video and see what it is. I wonder if it is on mobile too. But you know what's great about this? And I know that I believe there have been other like design brands, like fashion design brands, utilizing the AR/VR space for experiences. I'm not sure if anyone had a game. I can't remember. There's so many things happening in the tech AR or XR space. But you know what's great when a huge brand like Balenciaga does this, and you know what's going to happen, like everybody, like it's going to start to be a norm where, first of all, when the internet came about, or super information highway, it took a while for brands to join the internet, to actually have a website. And then eventually they all did. Then like newspapers did, like first companies, and then maybe publications, and then we see that a type of adoption, like the same type of what is it? Uh, Adoption, iteration of adoption, where people didn't understand what Twitter is and made fun of Twitter. Like news shows made fun of Twitter. What are you doing? You can tweet like a bird. You know what I mean? And now everybody is on Twitter or X space. So basically this just opens the door, and we know this. We know that the doors have been opening in terms of using mixed reality in different ways, for different people to experience things, for whatever vertical, whatever you want, like education, gaming, even in banking, how to get users to learn how to onboard. Like the sky's the limit, really, in what you can imagine, and how to create how to create a story where people can feel that they are part of it, or just follow it, and yet they learn something or gain something from it, right? Like that's, I know you've said this like a lot of times, our Hexa or Warren. No, your name's Warren. Sorry. However, no, not however. There's so many portals being open, and the way I look at it is, I always said that. Well, back then when over the reality, kind of like you use the word metaverse. I always said that. Over's metaverse or platform is really ubiquitous, because over is over the real world, because the platform covers the physical world. People don't realize that they're already part of this ubiquitous spatial platform, and the way to enter it is really through currently your mobile phone. Pretty soon they'll launch a browser thing for that, and then pretty soon there'll be like AR glasses. I don't know, but I know that they said they've been working on integrating Apple Vision Pro. Not sure where they are on that, but that is what they said. And that's a thing. Like they're doing like so much. That's why I feel like the more we talk about over, and I feel like in the digital space, it's not been talked a lot. I've been in NFT communities where they're constantly having spaces, and their members are streaming and creating YouTube videos about it. And that happened in the beginning, that happened. People, Over's OG, like original users, they were super excited. They had dedicated YouTube channels and Twitch to Over, and I know I'm one of them. And then slowly that kind of dies off, because like what you said, our Hexa, it's one thing to develop something. How do you get people to stay, right?
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean that's the crux of it. That is absolutely the crux of it. And just going back to your point about big brands, Nike bought Artifacts a couple of years ago now for an undisclosed amount, and they did a hoodie which had augmented wings coming out of the back of it, and there was a bit of buzz about that. And those kind of gimmicky things are okay to some extent, but the consumers are getting much more educated about what they want from these types of experiences now. So they want more, which means that brands and platforms have to deliver more value back to those users to keep them. And let's not let, just on the subject of gaming, this metaverse, the next iteration of the internet is being built by gamers. So, these are the people who understand digital assets, they understand wallets, they understand Discord, they understand Unity and Blender and all the other tricks and tools they have to create these environments. And, this is the way it's going. And I think a lot of companies are waking up to that, but it still has to be a great product. And even Google literally a couple of days ago have launched a geospatial application for AR, and I know last week there was a big kind of press release about Singapore being the first ever digital capital, and I think there's 14 or 12 to 14 locations around Singapore now, and more companies, more countries, tourism, are going to start looking at those types of opportunities. So it is going to come, and just your point there, digital, about eyewear. Stanford again released a big kind of white paper a couple of weeks ago about their developments with regards to AR glasses. So, the technology is catching up, the brands are catching up, the money's opening, and they're all going to be jumping in. And it is a question of who's going to be first to the party. But actually, and I think this is one of the great things about OVA, is, you had Afterlife, you had a lot of these kind of companies that are mapping the world, and it is about those people making the mistakes and overlooking very closely, keeping ahead of the game, but not too progressive, because that just sucks up revenue and time and effort and developers and all the other bits and pieces that go with it. So it's a great space, and it literally is moving every day. I get a bit flustered, and I'm a bit like a magpie to some extent. I want to kind of always look for the shiny things, and I think for me, from a business point of view, it's drilling down and realizing what I can offer my clients very, very easily and very quickly, and establish, because a lot of the people out there are still very unaware of this space, and so I think we've all got a responsibility, and we've all got an opportunity to hopefully make some money, but more importantly, lead the way for the way that our world and how we consume products is going to develop over the next decade.
Yeah, that's a great point you brought up. I always love, especially when you're literally in it. Like, I know we have people using the platform for other various things, right? And we know that right now, Over had stated that their current priority right now is the map to earn, mapping the world in 3D, because they want that data.
I think you're on mute.
Oh,
digital firm.
Sorry, you're right. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So I'm glad, it's great things that you brought up. I know that, it's great. It's weird to go back. I know that right now, people are using Over for different things, if they are, right? We know that Over's priority, and Diego Di Tommaso did mention it, Over's COO and co-founder, that they're focusing on onboarding people for mapping the world in 3D, because they want that data, they want that public layer data, and that's great. But I want to ask you, for someone who can see, who knows the potential of Over, that is why you are using it as a part of your like your business, like a service. And you did say that sometimes you get flustered. I can imagine that. What are the top 3 things that, as a business, has an entrepreneur who sees the future, who knows where things are going, you're providing a service for people, for easy access to to see where this goes. What are the top three things that, if I could use the word frustrates, is frustrating? Because face it, you're an early adopter, and I know with early adopters, it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if Elias wants to come up because he's been lifting his hand, but I think it's the challenge that I have is with all this technology coming at us at velocity at the moment, I have to think hard about how I communicate to my clients is really challenging at times, because I've got a whole heap of different clients that some are tech literate, some are completely illiterate with regards to technology. Some people are just still getting their head around social media. So, that's the level of clients that I have. I do have some people. I was at an event last night and there was a couple of people there that we spoke exactly the same language. We had long conversations about AI and what was happening and some more kind of bigger scale things about the elections, which are due to happen in a few months' time here in the UK. So, I think you have to tail your game up and down accordingly. And I think whenever I open conversations with clients, I always have to try and firstly establish what their understanding is, and secondly, manage their expectations and not getting too involved in scope creep. So don't overpromise, do small activations. Even if I know they've got budget, I'd rather do some low-hanging fruit stuff just to kind of get their enthusiasm and see what is capable and build on that. So I think that's important. The other thing that I kind of use as a bit of a mantra really is, someone once said to me, the main thing is making the main thing the main thing. And actually that is really quite important, because if you diversify from that and you start drifting off into different things, and I want to talk about avatars, and I know that Over has avatars, that's irrelevant at the moment. Get the traction, get the bills paid, make sure these people have got the money that they can come through, and they want to work with you for the long term, because this is a 2 or 3 year, even still, iteration of how we need to communicate with people, because and the people that I deal with, or the people that I'm working with at the moment, it is very much, they are also cutting edge, but they've got a business to run, and they've got a return on investment still to kind of show the rest of their team or their stakeholders or the board or whatever. And I think that's always a challenge, but you have to be so full on and so hands on. Probably more so than any other sector of my career. I've never really had this level of intense kind of backwards and forth, and I don't mind that at the moment, because it is a question of education more so than anything else. But yeah, it is that can be frustrating. That can be really frustrating. But it is the way it's going to be, and the sooner we all get our head around that, the better.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, Elias, I've been trying to get Elias up. I've also been trying to get Over up as co-host, and I'm accepting it on my end, but I don't know if it's retarded. Hang on, Elias, try to drop off and come back on. See if that'll work. Sometimes that'll need to work. So yeah, our Hexa. Yeah, I have a question for you. So, okay, Google, for instance, we all know that Google in the past, and I believe they still are doing it, they will look to different startups, right? They'll look to different startups and acquire them. Now, whether they acquire them because it's competition, or whether they acquire them because it's a smart move, it's like there's already a startup or entity that's, like, let's say, doing a project on this that Over is doing or wants to do. So let's get them on our team and then create a department for that. I'm wondering, let's hypothetically, do you think it would be beneficial for Over to do that? I know Diego said, and you heard it, I believe, Diego said that in terms of the AI assistance, that's a huge project in itself. So they did the smart move, and they are actually partnering / collaborating with an AI or layer one, like blockchain like entity for that. right? So do you feel that Over should do that with, like, partner with other types of like tech companies to further, I guess, evolve or get the name out?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think Web3 should be about collaboration. I think we've seen it over the last couple of weeks with Meta, joining forces with Microsoft. So, if those guys can get their head around and, some of the hardware as well. I know there's some development, I think it's Samsung, I'm not 100% sure. But, if Zuckerberg can do it, with this megalomaniac that he is, I think that has to be the way forward. And I think the ethics or the moral standpoints around a decentralized organization is all about that transparency. And I think, yeah, to answer your question, I think it's a great move. And then there's always the argument of the different tech stacks. So, for instance, I don't know. I mean, I'm just talking hypothetically, but it would be amazing to introduce this guy that I spoke to last week to Diego and say, look, why are you worried about deploying a product which isn't really your expertise to some extent? Okay, we know you could build it, but it could take you a year to build it. And in a year's time, that particular service that you could integrate as part of the API, however you kind of engineer it in the back end, you've got it now and it can evolve, and over that year it will evolve and become part of the over product. And I think that's the best way to do it, personally. And okay, there's the shared revenues and other logistical and legal requirements, but yeah, I mean, I think you can react much quicker. You've got to choose your partners correctly. As for having a conversation with Google, I wouldn't do it. I spoke to somebody about 6 months ago, actually, and they've got an amazing platform. And I know there was some VC sniffing around those guys in the early days. And this guy said, I don't need them. I don't want to work with them. I don't need to be tethered by them. But more importantly, I don't need them at the moment. That may change in the future. But, I think it's a lovely situation to be in those types of conversations, knowing that you hold the upper hand. You've got the trump card. But picking your partners is as difficult as picking, as fighting your enemies. And what you don't want is one to become the other. That's a nightmare because everything falls apart.
That is so true. Oh my goodness, that's a whole other topic in itself. I will be transparent about this. It's interesting, just from my presence online and what I do online. I have had, oh my wow, I've had different, what do you call it, different accounts, like on Twitter specifically, and maybe some on Discord, where they know you are talking or engaging with a certain account or person, and then they DM me, and then they say, oh, watch out for this person or watch out for this account. And this has happened 3 times. And in a way, it's like, oh my God, it's baffling to me, because my response is, oh, okay, thank you for the heads up, because I don't want to like, whether or not they're doing it genuinely, because this account really has been known historically to not be like, what is it, not be on the up and up. That's great. But with the nature of social media and the nature of and human behavior and how people get triggered, I also know that you can do that and use that to bring an account or an entity or brand down. It just takes word of mouth, and people never really look through the weeds and do their own research and really get to the bottom of the story. I feel like, especially Twitter/X, it's so easy for that. Somebody can tweet something or post something, and other people can get behind it and not know the full story. And that can take a brand or an account down and look bad. And that's a whole PR nightmare, when literally somebody did that on purpose to bring it down. And we see that all the time in media with entertainment and celebs. Like, we see that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we see these lies being perpetrated, but I'm seeing that in this Web3 space. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because and it's true what you said. You really have to be careful who you choose who you collaborate and partner with. I mean, that's scary because people, startups or partners, they can present themselves as such and such. You can create a website, you can do all this, you can talk a good talk, right? And heaven forbid over gets into a relationship with that. And then let's say they've been in 3-6 months, and then where are they? It's happened. Like it's happened in the past. Over has collaborated with some like play to earn entities, and the collaboration would be that after a certain date, after you've collected a certain amount of 3D assets of the brand's or that entity's assets, you would get rewarded. You would get some over tokens, and you would get something from that brand, like an NFT or their token. We've had about, at least, I'm not sure, I think about, I would say two. I would say two people that kind of like ghosted over, two brands that ghosted over. And what are you going to do, right? Because you have people who are winners, who had invested their time in the play to earn game. They won, and what they won was something from that brand or that NFT project. But then that NFT project, they over saying, okay, the game's over, like, where is it? Nothing, gone, done. And that's just a simple play to earn game. But that's massive, because what is that? Pour over is left hanging in the dust, not knowing what to do other than telling that winner or loser, I mean, not loser, excuse me, that winner, sorry, we couldn't get that NFT. And then they say, well, then give me, and here's the thing, they'll go, well, then give me tokens. If I can't get that NFT, then over, you give me 1,000 tokens or whatever. And could over do that? I don't know if they did. But once you open that thing, once something wrong goes wrong, once something happens that doesn't go right, and over is left in the dust, and everybody knows that, over can't just be coming out of pocket and saying, it's not like Starbucks where, like somebody stole your coffee, or you spilled your coffee and, oh, here, have another one on us. Eventually that'll happen. That's a different type of customer service, right? So that's a thing. Like, who can you trust? And now that's a worrying thing, because
yeah, I think, do you know what though? I think there's a lot to be said about building a community and using the community as your moat, as a form of defense. And that isn't a 5-minute thing, right? That is something that builds up over time, and trust and transparency and understanding ethics and just wanted to be part of something. And I think, I know it's still early days with over, but the gamification angle is perpetual kind of engagement, and even last week, since the new bonus structure's been put in, that has put in my mind actually a different mechanic into it. And okay, it's only asking for a month. Hopefully it'll last for longer. But all those people that have had a referral code from me, there was nothing happening to those guys over the last kind of 3 months or whatever. And now they're starting to go out to map, and I'm getting a little bit of a kickback, which is great. And there's a gamification to that. I went out and mapped a space the other day, and I've struggled. I'll be honest with you. I've mapped all my own lands, well, as many as I can get to physically, and that's all good. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do some of these shamrocks and send them in, and I can kind of do those locally. And when one popped up and I got 56 over from it, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it was a joy. It was a joy because I felt as if I was being rewarded for my commitment and my time, which is what it's all about. And I think once that stickiness starts to develop, I don't know what the stats are like. I'm sure they've done very well over the last week, and I'm sure that will only grow, for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And but that is gamification. It's having that engagement, that stickiness, that want to pick up the app and go out and to engage with it. And as simple as that is, there should be a lot of learnings brought in from that. I mean, I can only imagine what Elias is doing with his territory, because it's the odds are higher, and that's really encouraging.
Oh, it is. Oh my God, I love that. I saw this excitement and happiness in your voice when you oh my God, that's amazing. Oh, Elias, I'm trying to bring him up. Do you know if he dropped? Elias, did you leave and come back?
I think he did. I think he did go out and come back. But
Okay, I left with Over as well and came back with Over. This is great. Well, you know what? Oh, I'm sorry, Elias, if we can't bring you on. But yeah, please, everybody who is listening, you got to follow Elias because I love what he's doing. Like he's just going to town with it. Like he's really making this a mission, and I love seeing the results of his mapping. And I love that with you for you, our Hexa, the codes that you gave out, and then it was like crickets, like a ghost town. Then all of a sudden, it's like you're seeing activity, and you too with the clover leaves. Like that's amazing. Oh my God, I love that. And you're right. Like, how are we going to, you know what? You can't force people. That's the thing. Like, there's so many things going on, so many things people can do. I mean, thanks, internet, that you really can't force people to do what they do. But I'm glad that the people that you've handed codes to, you're seeing some activity.
yeah, and you know what? It's not about the money. It's really not. It's the adrenaline buzz when something clicks. You know, that's really what it is. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. It'd be nice to get the 1,250 over prize or whatever it is. You know, the big number. But it's really not about that. You know, I'm equally as happy when it's a couple of over, or there's some sense of, okay, I've done something there. I've taken the time out. I've perfected my map as the best possibly that I could. I mean, even that, and I know it sounds really ridiculous, but when I do a really good map, or I see somebody with a really good map, I'm like, credit there, because that again is gamification. And I don't want to see blurred bits and ghosting and shadows and, you know, kind of going into a building and coming back out again. I want to see clean, crisp, beautiful maps that are a joy to watch. That is gamification in a simple term. Hence the reason why I said to Hexanaut the other week, you know, we need a map of the year, because when you get one, it's lovely. It's lovely to see, and it's lovely to see other people doing great maps. You know, and these are the simple things that can be implemented very, very easily.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I feel the same way when I see a really great map, like you can't even tell. It's comparable to a photograph, and you see that with a lot of Elias's mappings. It's insane, and you're right. That is gamification. That is the very basis of gamification and setting up the foundation for. You know what? Let's. Whew. I noticed that. I just realized. I think a week ago that who you were on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure that is you. And I was like, oh my gosh, because you're doing so much. I think you wrote a long post on LinkedIn. Was it last week on Over the Reality? And that's when I figured, oh, this is our Hexa. I hope that is you, right?
Yeah, I put something together. I wanted to talk about it, and I'm not connected in any way, shape, or form other than just committed to seeing good things done by good people, and that's why I did it. And I think, yes, that is me. But as I say, it's not about using LinkedIn's network. That can be a challenging place to exist at the best of times. But the one great thing about LinkedIn is there's some amazing people doing some incredible things. And again, it's not all about the money. There are people doing amazing things which are legacy projects, and that's something that really spurs me on. And I want to be able to speak to my kids and look my kids in the eye in 15 years time, and they look back at me and go, oh my God, Dad, you got into Over the Reality before anyone else knew about it. Those are the types of things. That's the buzz I want to get. So but yeah, that's just my own slant on things.
You know what? And that's probably going to happen. That's definitely going to happen. I love how these are us as early adopters using Over. We're going to get that cred. We're going to get that cred, because right now I really do believe that Over is like a hidden secret. They're not even a secret. They're just out there. It's just a matter of finding them, getting to know about Over and what they're doing. And probably, not probably, it will happen, because the more you talk about like Over the Reality, even on LinkedIn, and I think LinkedIn is the perfect place too, because that's where a lot of the companies even game dev people. I mean, there are game developer consultants that are huge. I know a few of them for Ubisoft and whatnot, and they are on LinkedIn. That's where they live. So when they're always looking for, what's the newest thing? Where can we go? What's the latest innovation? Where can we take this game? What's happening in the technology space that'll add to the gaming ecosystem? They will see those articles. They will see that eventually, and then that's where the discussions were. So I loved that you wrote that on your LinkedIn, and I hope you continue to do that. And I should as well. I should as well, but my LinkedIn got hacked and everything got removed, and I'm just too lazy to redo stuff. But I'm glad that you posted it on LinkedIn. I think for the decision makers and like the C-suites, especially the C-suites, that can move mountains per se. That's where things happen. Yeah, Twitter is different. Like X is different. Crypto X or crypto Twitter blockchain NFT, that's a whole different beast. But I love what you're doing, and it's you know what? It's probably meant to be that I couldn't bring up Elias or I couldn't bring up with whoever, because this is it. It's great to hear from you, to hear your thoughts, and maybe you can take some snippets of this. I don't know, and I don't know, share it with. At least it's here. Your voice is here in terms of the future of gaming, especially on over or gamification anyway for your clients, and it's documented. So not only are you on over before it became huge, and your kids will go, Dad, but then you hopefully you'll save this recording and then you'll go, see, this is what I've been saying.
I thank you for those kind words. That's very sweet of you. That does mean a lot. But yeah, I think it is. There are some big hitters on LinkedIn. As say, it is a bit of a vacuum at times and can be quite debilitating, when you see all these things happening. But there are amazing people, and it only takes someone like Kathy Hackle, or someone of that kind of stature to kind of pick up on something, and then it just blows up, and then it's all a question of not only positioning for a brand like Over the Reality, but it's also quality of product. And that's something which I've always felt. There are things I look at a daily basis, and I look at the app and I go, oh my God, this is so difficult. Why am I zooming back out when I need to go back in? And I want to look at the map to earn section, and it's kicking me out and doing this. And so it is a bit clunky, and there is work to be done on the web builder, but in essence, it's a great product. I just think, that it is a difficult thing to manipulate, and a difficult thing to prioritize as well. But there are some amazing projects out there at the moment that are very, very agile. And I just hope that, going back to the point we raised earlier about collaboration, if that's the difference, if that gets Over the Reality to where it needs to get to, and have that standpoint as being dominant in this particular sector of this world, then so be it. They should be having those conversations. They really should.
Yeah, you know what? I need to bring something up, and I will say this on the record. And this is what has frustrated me too. This is what has been frustrated me in the beginning. I learned to let it go, and I feel like there's other operations at work. So in 2021, when I came across Over, I reached out to Kathy Hackle. I reached out to Robert Scoble. I reached out to Tom Emmerich. Look at Tom Emmerich. Tom, Tomemrich. He has been a contact of mine. I met him in Toronto when he did, I think it was in 2015, 2017, for some, what's called? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I reached out to them in 2021. I reached out to Don Allen III. You know him. He's like all over AR, Snapchat, Snap VR, Lens AR, all that, right? And I even had a conversation with him. I had a phone call conversation with him, and I would have loved to had that conversation, like on a space or whatever, but I didn't. I wanted to respect him. The reason why I reached out to him and I got in a call with him was to talk about what he was doing in the AR space, and then I brought up Over the Reality, but I didn't want to shove Over the Reality in the space. So Kathy Hackle, a number of times we've reached out, and she did reach out back eventually. Robert Scoble reached out, but they all kind of know about Over. They're all following Over, and I don't know why Over the Reality has not been mentioned in any of Tom Emmerich's XR or AR newsletters that he puts out on LinkedIn for how many years now. I don't know why Kathy Hackle doesn't mention anything. Robert Scoble did come into a space, not an Over the Real. He did come into one of the spaces a few years back, I guess, just to listen, but he's doing his own thing. So what I'm guessing is, I guess pockets run deep, right? And I don't know if, I don't know if Don Allen has like contracts or NDAs for only certain things, and cannot engage with another entity that is doing AR. Like, I don't know, but people have been reaching out to him after I reached out to Don Allen. Like, people have been like pointing him out and having conversations, and he's been saying stuff. But like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just kindness online because you're being called out publicly, or I don't know if these people have contracts, because Kathy Hackle, Tom Emmerich, Robert Scoble, he's doing his own thing, and Don Allen III, they are connected with a lot of tech, with the Silicon Valley boys. And yes, Don Allen's been doing contracts with Facebook when it was called Facebook, Google, you name it. Like, he's been in with them for consulting and whatnot. So I don't know why none of these people have yet tweeted or posted or mentioned anything about Over. I don't know why. I'm thinking they have contracts, and I'm thinking that like Over is like not a competitor, but they're doing the same thing as Eighth Wall. They're kind of like doing the same thing with Niantic and all these big names. And like, I don't know why. I don't know. So
yeah, I think there's a number of things there. I think you're right. There can be conflicts of interest, which is understandable. You know, I know for a fact, I've listened to Kathy Hackle's podcast enough to realize that she's very in with Niantic as an example. But I also think that it's just a question of timing. You know, I mean, if you had a conversation with them a year ago, I mean, how much has the product developed in a year? How much has the community developed in a year? And, you know, it is just a question of just keeping your head down. And sometimes I think a lot of problems with brands, and I see this a lot in the fashion industry, everyone wants a quick fix. And there is no such thing as a overnight brand, overnight success. You know, there's always 10 years behind those people. They might look as if they've just come out of nowhere, but actually there's a lot of bloody hard work gone in behind the facade. And I think that's the key. And I think that's not such a bad thing, because it allows you to get your head down and just work hard and refine and develop and build a community and work out what are the good parts and the bad parts and your story and all those brand values which, you know, historical brands have baked into what they do. And, you know, it is still very early for Over. I honestly, I'm not just saying this, but I also did my due diligence on Over the Reality when I started to buy Overlands. And again, it's all speculative. No one knows whether or not that investment is going to work or not. But I did my due diligence on Davide and Diego and seeing what they've done previously. And that's a responsible thing to do. I think we should all do that. They're very easy to find out who they are and where they've been and what they've worked on previously. And, you know, there is no winning formula. But if you're going to invest your time, or more importantly, some pennies into something, you need to make sure you're aware of where you're putting your efforts. But yeah, anyway, listen, I've got to jump. It's been lovely talking to you. Thanks everyone for listening as well. I'm sorry I've kind of taken over the mic a little bit, but it's been a good chat, and I'll catch you again soon.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, our Hexa. Yeah, it was probably meant to be. I couldn't get Elias up, but then again, he'll come around, and we'll be talking to him for sure. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a great Thursday, and happy weekend to all. So we are 12 minutes past the hour, and technically this is about an hour. And hey Joe, I know you've been there. Hey Kbot. Hey, I think you changed your name. I'm not even sure. but I know I've seen your PFP. Thank you so much for joining. So over the reality, we have our community weekly spaces, and normally it's been just hanging out with the community, talking about what everybody was doing. But I'm thinking I want to do more structure to that. So I decided let's talk about like Web3 gaming and RL, because over the reality is definitely primed. Its spatial platform is primed for that because they are a digital layer over the whole world where you can create digital twins, and all you can do is make AR assets geolocated. We can talk more about that. You can just look at Over the Reality or send me a DM and Over's DM if you want to know. Want to do a shout out to Ira X Labs. I know she's out there. She's been creating and spatial. She's been doing a lot actually, and I love that. Soyo and Mins as well has been creating. They've been actually creating like Easter hunt games, Santa Claus games. They were quite a team. And they still are quite a team creating things on Over the Reality in terms of like what you can do with Over. And of course, there's Elias. I think he's probably our number one, along with Mayor, number one 3D mapping. And the reason why Over is doing the Map to Earn 3D mapping, because they really want to create a database of 3D maps for people to utilize, and for people, meaning anyone who would like to take, who would like to create AR experiences that is showcasing a physical location in the real world. We can talk more about that, but I'm going to end this. I have some work to do, I believe. I believe, of course I do. But I'm really glad for people who have joined and stayed. Mince, you've been here since the beginning. Alea, sorry I couldn't get you in. I couldn't even get over to be co-host. That's crazy. But K-Bot, I hope you join in again next Thursday. We do it every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or whatever it is in New York City. You can go on that. It was always good to see you. Alea, sorry I couldn't get you up, but I know you've talked before, and hopefully we can get you back on again on next week. All right, everyone. So for those watching out there on YouTube or Twitch and Facebook, wherever you're watching this, if you have any questions about what's going on or what is Over, what's going on with Web3 and gaming, or anything about crypto, you can always send me a message, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. But do check out Over the Reality. It's easy. Their website, Over the Reality, no spaces, .ai, and have a look. Or just ask questions. That's the best thing. Okay, so enjoy and have a great weekend, everyone. And thanks for joining. Bye-bye. Da, da, da. I feel like we need like an ending music, but that'll happen soon. That'll happen. I'm gonna end this now. But yeah, it's interesting that Balenciaga I see that they are having some type of game thing. It's not even I don't even know. I'll look into it more. And you know what? I should really be doing more of my YouTube videos again. It's just crazy. Anyway, for those of you watching, thank you, and everybody have a great weekend. I can't believe it's already almost June. It's crazy, huh?